Alright guys, so here I'm going to show you how to build like a gun. You can do a sci-fi gun, a realistic gun. Whatever you do when you are building a gun, make sure that you work in halves. It just makes your life easier, even though if the gun isn't symmetrical, maybe it's asymmetrical. This allows you to keep the consistent flow and matching the edges, and that allows you later on, you can stitch the other half together. You can see I have one half of my gun done, the other half still working on, but notice I have all this hyper detail and beveling strategically as I go. So part of this is a little bit redundant when we talk a little bit about the beveling, and I won't cover too much of that because we talked about that when we talked about the Neo Tokyo buildings, how to handle that. But we will talk about basic construction and also theory and keeping things in mind, how you should approach your object and using the Boolean tools in a smart sense, because by default they don't really work really well, but I can show you how to get them to work to your advantage. Alright, so let's start out here. You can see I have a my gun, and I even have pieces of it kind of wrapping together. So this definitely would not be used for real time. Just want to keep that in mind. This is used mainly for cinematics. This is for a movie piece that I'm working on, animated short. So you can see I'm putting a lot of hyper detail in here, and you do want to put that, and especially in my piece, this gun gets up close, and later on I will be stitching it together, but I want to show you how I approached tackling this particular guy and all of his little pieces and so forth. Alright, so one in particular, which is tricky, is this little guy. This is the handle. Let me get rid of this sphere so our camera doesn't go inside of him every 5 minutes. And what I did to get this guy to work was I created a curve. Let me hit the F key. And I used, under our curves tab, I used the EP curve tool. The EP curve tool is a great tool, and when you do use it, make sure you do 3 cubic or 5 here, and even 3 Bezier will work pretty well. Linear is for sharper angles, but the others are for more of a organic type of shape. You'll notice I'm just doing random curves here, and once you hit enter, you'll commit to your curve. So what I did for this particular shape, I ran a loft. You can see the result of one of them right here, and I grabbed them in order. And to use the loft tool, you have to actually go into surfaces, and you can do that through hitting your hotbox. Oh, my bad. And with my hotbox, I'll just go to surfaces. Under surfaces, I can go in here and I can choose loft. With loft, we're going to pop it up here for a second. You can choose how you want your output to be, and in this case I do quads and count. And I can set my, what I originally set mine to was like 100. It's halfway decent. And when you do it, you do want to do modify center pivot. And what you saw me do before is you can actually go in here under custom, and I have center pivot already set up. Simply by clicking Control Shift right click when you're underneath that topic, you can actually bring that particular object up. And I'll do it here again. Control Shift right click, and there we go. There's my texture, UV texture editor. Alright, so we got this guy into play. The nice thing about this, I can move him off to the side. Now I can control the shape of this gun handle any way that I want. So I can make it super organic, kind of tweaky. Now remember, you're limited by how many polys you have set on this. I did my quads and count, and this allows me to go in here and really tweak it out any way that I want. You can make the base, maybe the middle, you want to be wider. We'll go in here and hit the R key. I don't want to be lazy. Sometimes I get lazy and I'll just click on it because I don't want to use my other hand. And you can change the shape of it and so forth any way that you want, any way that you need. So that's actually kind of cool. So that's pretty much what I did with this guy. And then when I was done, I just hit Control D and I kept the original around. So if I wanted to go back in here, I could use it again and say, oh, you know, that one didn't work, or I need to make another gun. I actually had this already built and ready to go. So you can actually have like a little factory ready to go as you build stuff. So you can pretty much make a huge sniper rifle or a small handgun simply by messing with some of these size scale variables. So it's pretty cool, not too shabby. So when I was done, you can just go in here and go duplicate special, edit, and go duplicate special, and again I can go to Control Shift right click, and I can bring that guy up if I want. There's duplicate special right there. And be careful though, if your settings aren't exactly what you want, you may not get what you need. In this case, I have mine at X. We can see that the red X here is on the X plane, so I can hit duplicate special. There we go. I can get the other half, which is kind of nice. Although the pivot wasn't exactly centered, but well, we can still play with this guy a little bit. Oh, that's pretty close. It's not perfectly aligned, but then you can combine this. You have to combine it, and then after you combine it, then you can go in here and start welding. And the ones I'll use is if the points are on top of each other, I can merge them and make sure your border edges are showing so you can see that merge. Or you can merge to center, grabbing each point from each half. Remember, it has to be combined. Or you can do merge to vertex tool, which is kind of cool. You saw me do that earlier before. So that's real quick how you can get that piece. But one thing in particular I do want to talk about is, and also that's how I did the trigger guard here. And I can definitely tweak that out probably a little bit more. It looks like it's pinching too much in there. But one thing I do want to show you is how to use the Boolean tool to your advantage. By default, the Boolean tool is not perfect. Actually, it's kind of clumsy. It's sometimes trying to make a masterpiece with a jackhammer, and it doesn't always work really well because it leaves a lot of artifacting. It leaves it kind of messy, and you have to clean it up. And you always want your edges to go somewhere. You don't want to leave n-gons. So you see, I've either changed these to triangles or quads, and that's how your result needs to be. And then I beveled the interior. This is a lot easier than it looks. So let me show you how to do it. Let's go to polygons. We'll go to flat. Let's flatten this object. And let's do extrude. Extrude this object. And I'll divide him up a little bit. Actually, before I extrude, we'll just make a cube. That'll be better. Cube. Scale them up. Hit the F key, keep it centered on the camera. Go to my channel box. We'll divide them up into twos. So we'll go 2 and 2. There we go. So I'll show you how you can actually be clever and tricky when it comes to the Boolean tool. So we've got this guy all set up here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here and get a cylindrical object. I'll keep him pretty simple in this particular example, so I'll dumb him down a little bit. We'll keep him in subdivisions of about, I don't know, 10. Keep him pretty simple. Just make it a little less time for the lecture. And I'll move him into place. Now, Boolean originally was used mainly for NURBS object, and later on when polygons came around, they brought these guys into place. And believe it or not, you can use these guys to your advantage, and I'll show you. And I'm going to duplicate this guy, Control D, one more time, move him over. And you can create Booleans multiple ways. Now, Boolean, some people will think, let me turn off high quality for a moment. Some people think Boolean is mainly just for cutting through stuff, and that is a misgiven because there's multiple things that you can do with it. And let's go to Mesh, go to Booleans. So you can do union, and you can do difference and intersection. And difference and intersection are mainly focused on the type of selection or selection order that you grab stuff with. So I'll grab my cylindrical object, shift select my geo here, and I'll go in here back to Mesh, Boolean, and we'll go to Union. And you'll see Union now has combined this object into this piece. Unfortunately, you can see it's not very clean. This can be a problem. But let me show you how you can fix that. So I'll go in here and delete this guy. You can literally delete these pieces, and we can divide it equally within our piece, which is actually kind of cool. So go in here and let's do so. So let's go to our split polygon tool. So let's go to, actually not split polygon tool, we'll go to insert edge loop, because we need to insert edge loops on these guys. So I'll go in here and insert edge loop here. Let's see how many are on this side. We need 2, so let's go 1, 2. I think that'll do. We'll do it again. We'll go 1, 2. And I think we're pretty good. So watch this. This is how you can get around the problem of getting these n-gons. So with this set up, we can now hit the hotbox here, and we can go to append polygon. Now we can append polygon on these. Actually, I should probably divide it one more time here. Let me do that one more time. Sorry about that. So we'll go 1, 2. Now, if you don't want to count through these, you're like, oh, 1, 2, that's super boring. Remember, you can also do, and I showed this briefly in class, you can do offset edge loop tool. This allows you to put more than just one. And you can change the count of that in this offset edge loop tool. And no, not the move tool, buddy. This guy. Oh, that's a little Maya error. Hey, I click on the insert. What a jerk. He wants to do the move tool. So we'll do offset edge. We'll just open it up. And this is supposed to be there. So what you can do is you can actually change the relative distance for these. You can do equal distance, relative distance, automatically, smoothing angle, start edge loop offset. So you can actually control some of that, which is how you want that guy to be pushed out there. All right, so now that we have these all set up, let's go and do a pen polygon tool. And this is the cool part. So we can start reconstructing this guy. Now Maya, when you click and use the pen polygon tool, it'll show you a triangle and show you the direction in which this is going to be built. And I've showed this again in class, but I want to show it within this context because it's a little bit trickier. So I'm going to click on this guy and you're going to hit enter. Now if you're in the middle of this tool, you cannot hit Control Z. So if I click here and click here, you'll notice I'm going to hit Control Z. Nothing's going to happen because it's in the middle of working the tool. So you want to hit delete, and then you can delete one more time to get the triangles to go away. Okay. Sometimes triangles won't show up. This is sometimes based on your history or your graphics card. On the scale, if your object's really huge, they may not show up. Let me hit enter. Just keep that in mind. If they don't show up, don't freak out. Maya will tell you if there's an error if you can't do it, but most of the time this will show up. This little arrow indicate direction to finish. Press enter. So the nice thing about this, I can actually click and hit enter. If I need to make a triangle, I can totally make a triangle. Let me hit the G key to repeat the last process. And Maya will tell you if your normals are flipped. And you should always use, and I showed you guys this before, to check if your normals are flipped. You should use your custom polygon display options. And again, that's found under display, polygons, custom polygon display. I just have a little hotkey for it by doing that left click Control Shift, which I showed you. And turning this on, this shows you where your holes are at. Notice I just turned it on. Tells you where there could be problems. And it looks like my normals, Maya, so nice of it. Sometimes it does this. It flipped my normals on some of my objects when I did combine. And we can fix that by flipping that again. And we can even double check right now. So let's double check. Open that up again. Normals, hit apply. Okay, let's turn off texture borders because that can be deceiving. Hit apply. Nope, it's good. It was only texture borders. False alarm. We're good. Awesome. Hit apply to turn it off. Cool. And go back and go to a pen polygon. So I'll click on this guy, click on this guy. And what I was going to show you is you don't have to use quads. You'll see on my pistol that I have triangles in here. So to do that, what you can do is actually, and I have mine pretty laid out so it'll all be quads no matter what I do. But maybe I'm noticing like, you know what, I kind of don't like that sharp angle right there. So what I can do is I can delete this, and we'll just say we'll delete this. And I can make a triangle to make it a little more symmetrical. So to do so, I can click on once here and go straight down here. Oh, I tried to fool it. It didn't work. So we'll hit a side angle instead. Sorry, little optical illusion there. So we'll go click here and click here, and you'll see that we'll make a triangle. Pretty cool. So this can keep things a little bit cleaner. You can get that irregular stretch. Let me hit the G key to repeat the last process. Oops, my bad. I don't want to pull up my display. G key being the pen polygon. It thought I was pulling up the menu again. Let me hit delete. Looks like the wrong angle was selected. That's okay. Try it again. Okay. Click here and click there. There we go. And hit enter. You do have to be careful. You notice a couple times I had that. You got to be careful what angle you have. Notice we have a three-dimensional object. If you think you're clicking on something, you could end up getting a polygon go from here all the way down here. So just keep that in mind. Just be careful as you go. So that's pretty much how we can keep this guy in place. Luckily, Maya did not flip our normals. That may occur if you have too much history. Notice we're getting a lot here. So periodically go in here and delete by type on this guy and delete your history. There you go. pretty nice. So we can finish it up real quick. I'll make it real quick so you can see what's going on. Enter. I'll delete this guy so we can stay with our little triangle concept, and we'll make the triangle point in this direction. So we'll click here, and then we'll go to the edge instead of to the end. Notice we got a triangle. There you go. Awful nice of Maya. Thanks, Maya. This one will be irregular quad, so if you want, you don't have to go that route. Just go to faces here, do some selecting. Too lazy to use the other hand there for that hotkey. I'm sorry. And we'll go in here and just crack myself up. We'll go in here and then we will fix the rest of this guy. Probably too soon for that triangle. Get rid of him. Boop, boop. And we're going to get rid of this guy too. Too soon, too soon. So I'll go in here and build the outskirts. Let's make it a triangle. I think we have a triangle on the other side, right? No, we're all quads. We're good. Huh. Okay. So I can slide my edge. So I'm going to do a little cheating. Notice Maya got mad because I'm changing my tool. It's like, what are you doing? God. So we can do slide the edge tool. And I showed you guys this before, but it's really good to use. We'll just slide that down. Totally just cheated. And you can even slide this guy down too if you need to. Maya will react appropriately. It looks like we're all quads. We don't really need to do anything else besides that. So, awesome. Keeping it quad in the family. What's up? I'm just changing the angle because it wasn't what I wanted. I totally cheated. Well, not really. Moving that around. I like to keep things symmetrical. You can call it the art director in me, but at least semi-symmetrical in this particular case. And then we can put the triangle here and put the quads again. Part of this is because when I booleaned, I didn't completely center the object, and that's okay. No one's going to get mad at me for it. Or will they? Go and grab this here and hit enter. There we go. And then finally we go one more. Click here. And bazing. Bada bing. All right, so you guys get the concept. Then you would completely close this out. So let's use this tool one more time. So we're going to use it in a different context. So let's go ahead and create our cylindrical object again. And we're going to go in here and set it to 10, just keeping it simple. Now, if we want to carve into this guy again, say we want to carve into him one more time, Maya can be a jerk. Like I can go in here and hit the R key here, scale this down, and you'll notice you're like, hey man, I want to totally cut into this. We might get lucky, it'll do it, but not all the time. So what will happen, I'll select him, shift select this. Actually, we'll do it the other way around. I'll select this guy first, shift select this guy, and we'll go to booleans, and this time I'll do union. And you'll notice, well, in this case, he's not the one that's selection heavy. You'll notice it stuck around. Woo, we lucked out. Most of the times, it will not do that. It will actually make the other object disappear. Part of it might be because we deleted our history. That keeps it nice and clean. But still, you have to be careful because when it does do that, don't let that defeat you. What you can do, and we'll move over here to this guy. Insert this guy. I'll hit the R key. Pull him up. Select him, shift select our geo. What you can do is, and let's actually duplicate him so we can use him later. Whore him out. You're a whore. Oh, sorry. We'll grab the geo first, shift select him, go to mesh, boolean, we'll go difference. And you'll see it cut through, and we're like, yay, cut through. I'm so happy. I'm going to do that again. So we'll select the geo, shift select this guy, and you do it again, and this is the bad part. If it does it, it'll be great, but sometimes, most of the time, Maya will make the whole thing disappear. Wow, we are so lucky. But when that happens, I can't get it to break. When that happens, and Maya does that, where it makes the object disappear, and a lot of times it can be because of history, but not all the time, what you can do is you can separate that piece from the rest of your geo. So I can grab these guys and hit extract. Say get out of there. In this case, I'll do Control Shift in my custom tab. I'll do Control Shift, right click, and there's extract. It's a tool I use all the time, so try to get into that habit. And we'll go to extract, go to object mode, grab it, hit W key. We got to make sure we modify center pivot, so let's use our little icon for it. And now, if I want, I can go in here and cut into him so that, you know, if Maya's starting to disappear on me, I can go in here and do that same thing I did just a second ago. So we'll go to Mesh, we'll go to Booleans, we'll go to Difference, and there we go, we cut right into it. And the nice thing about it, it makes an interior, so it makes it logical when it does that. And then from here, you can go to Faces and do the same thing that you saw me do over there. So I can remove the face, and I can build out my polygon, but I'm not done. Let me show you what I'm going to do. We'll delete this guy here. You're like, well, Sean, how am I supposed to attach that? It's actually not that hard. So we're going to go in here and go to the W key. Now, looks like center pivot isn't there. I'm going to hit Insert, keep my finger on the V key, snap it like Legos into the piece that I want. Hit Insert to lock it in. Keep my finger on the V key, snap it back into place. And now I can grab him, shift select this guy, and do Combine. With them combined, you'll notice though, he still is not quite welded, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I can grab this here and move it apart. You're like, no! And also to see that, you can actually turn on your border edges on that object. You'll see where the holes are at. Maya can be your personal secretary. Alright, so we can go in here, grab these pieces. You'll see that it has 2 edges, and again, I'm using my display heads-up display poly count, so I can check it as I go. I can see there's 2 edges. Something isn't right in the world. And I'll go in here, and I want to use my merge to center, or just plain merge. And in this case, we can use just plain merge because they're on top of each other. The default merge settings should be fine. So let me go ahead and do that again. Mesh, merge, and Control Shift, left click. So he's right here where I use him all the time. Merge. You can see I don't have a lot on my custom shelf because I installed 2013 like this week, so I haven't got to customize everything. Hit the G key to repeat the last process, and I love the G key. You can select this, G key, rotate the camera, select this, see that it's 2 edges, G key, see the thickness go away, that's what you want. Rotate, see if there's anything else, and we're good. So now we can start append polygon until we pass out, which is way cool. We'll get append polygon and do Control Shift, left click, put them up here in our own custom shelf, and now we can append polygon and get this guy where we need to go. And again, you'll have to cut some edges, but you guys kind of get the idea. And that's how you can connect several pieces using Boolean so it doesn't disappear. We got lucky in this case that it didn't do that. It didn't disappear. But mine did earlier when I was working on this guy. Part of it can be also because of the complexity. I'd already run a bevel, and I was running this, and Maya was like, no, screw you. I'm not going to let that happen. And you'll see I also have an internal bevel, which is kind of cool. This actually can work really well. And what you can do with an internal bevel, and let's go ahead and just pick on this guy. And we'll do the little pieces here. Actually, I'll just do Control Z. I think we should be able to do a bevel with no problems. What you can do, let's grab all these edges and deselect what we don't need. I normally don't work with backface culling. You guys can work with backface culling on or off because a lot of times I'll forget to turn it back off, and it just, for me, it's just faster to use like the paint selection tool, which has built-in backface culling, or just simply select it really quickly. A lot of times it's the paint selection tool, but I'm being super lazy right now. Alright, so we got that right there. And then now we can go in here and do bevel. Just determine what you want, hit bevel. Oh, looks like this guy collapsed on himself. He's all, no. So we can fix that with the offset. Let's do 0.22. Let's see if that does. Oops, I gotta make sure my number lock is on. There we go. It's just squished it down to nothing. So to keep it cleaner, we'll just go and kill this guy real quick. Insert edge loop. You get to watch me do it one more time if you missed it. It's like exciting. It's like watching ninjas. Okay, not really. And we'll do the pen polygon tool. So this one's not going to be symmetrical. I don't really care on this particular case. So we'll do boop, boop, G key. Yeah, I love this pen polygon tool. For the longest time, 3D Studio Max didn't have it. I would totally impress my buddies at Interplay. Press Start, which was owned by Interplay at the time. Cool group of guys. They were jealous. We could totally do this. What? We missed an area. Not a problem. Just a big old stinky triangle here. Alright, so we'll pretend that that's totally together. Alright, so from here we can actually run a bevel. And let's go ahead and I'm going to delete this guy because I can, because I'm a jerk. Jerk face. And we'll pen polygon this guy a couple times. Boop. Oops. I'm going to say Control Z. Got to follow my own advice. Let's see if he's going to repair himself. There he goes. There's get little weird anomalies that happen there. Anomalies. And that's just my trying to figure out the edges. And sometimes if you just rotate your camera, it'll stop being stupid. We'll do insert edge loop. Doop. Doop. Cool. And one more for the road. Alright, so we'll go here, here, enter. So hopefully you're getting this. I don't have to run this any longer because it's so exciting. It's like watching paint dry or librarians fight about who put the encyclopedia over there next to the nudie magazines. That might be an interesting conversation, though. That may not be very boring. Oh, yeah, looking for quad. So irregular quad, still possible. There we go. I'll just leave it for now. So we got this guy here. So what I did was I double clicked on him. There we go. Sometimes you just got to get the right edge. That guy's at a hard angle, so might as well. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. We go to bevel. There you go. And at first they'll be like, oh God, no, it's destroyed. Not quite. So you can actually change the thickness of it. Keep it tighter or smaller, whatever you want. Whoa, or too big. It's like a black hole. So we can go in here and we can change that. So we can go 0.017 or even make it smaller. We can do 10. And it looks like I might have had a secret triangle kind of sneak in there, and that's okay. We can fix that later by simply just welding it because it looks like it doesn't belong. Which one of these things don't belong? So we go to merge center. Boosh. Badoosh. Alright. And just move them. Relocate them. Totally cheating. So that's pretty much how I attempted to get this guy going. He was a little bit cleaner, so I might have just went too fast and missed some of my edges there, but that's okay. So you kind of get the idea of how you can add some of these details. Now the points, each one of these, I just strategically try to figure out how and where I want these bolts to be. For these fancy angles, that's actually not that hard. What I did, and we'll use this guy as a guinea pig. Let me hit the F key. Go ahead and switch views and hit the F key again. I use a tool that a lot of people don't always use. It's actually pretty sweet, called a cut faces tool. I keep your finger on the shift key. This allows you to get a very distinct angle. This is cutting straight down, Control Z. And the cool thing about this tool is it's very absolute. So if I do this angle, it's going to cut through the whole model. And that's what I did a couple times. So I'll just determine where you want it to be. There we go. There's that angle. And we'll do one more probably over here. Let's see if we can get this guy to not suck. Oh, it's going to hit that corner, so we don't want that because it'll get messy. So maybe we can squeeze in one more here just to be fancy. What? That's fancy talk. There we go. And maybe one more because I live on the edge. I sit too close to the TV, go outside with my hair wet. Yeah, that's me. Alright, so we got this right here. And now all I need to do is switch to faces, and I can grab these faces, and I'm using the paint selection tool, mind you. And you don't even have to hit the shift key because this guy lives dangerously. And I'm now going to extrude this out. Pow! Got polygons, extrude, behold, ladies and gentlemen. And you have to be careful too, because it is an angle, so when you try to scale this bad boy, he will not scale. Notice he's already coming out slightly distorted. So what I'll do is I'll go and use my absolute world, and you click on this little blue little icon, looks like an Xbox turn on button. This allows you to change from local to world. Now I switch to world, so when I pull it out, it's a little more accurate. In other words, it doesn't try to compensate for every face. And if I want to scale it, I can, but notice it's going to shift, which is going to suck. So what you can do, and what I did, was I pulled it out of place, and I went in here, and I just took care of it individually. And what I mean by that was I just handled it. And you can go in here and just kind of scale it a little bit for each one. You can do like maybe scale this down a little bit, and you can scale this down a little bit, and you can kind of cheat, but you got to be careful because this gets a little weird. That's one way you can do it, but you also can, let's go back to the selection mode where they're all selected. You also can go in here, and let's go back to when we first extruded. Edit, redo, and we'll do extrude again. You can click on just one of these and you can scale them down inside. Look at that, totally cheating. And then switch to absolute, and then pull it out. Look at that, that's kind of fancy talk. So you want to do it right in the beginning to get that shape to taper off. Otherwise it's going to be a pain in the butt. And that's kind of what I did with this guy right here. Fancy gun. Alright, cool. Alright, so that's about it for this. I thought I'd just break that down for you. And again, the trigger is just an extension of this lofting method. We'll get into more lofting and using some of the Bezier and all the different tools that you have at your disposal when it comes to NURBS. But this is a quick way to be able to get this stuff to work. You'll notice I also have a bent structure. That's actually pretty easy, and we went over that before. What you can do on a particular object. And I'll show this one more thing, and I'll leave you alone. You can go have your nachos. Create deformers, and we're going to nonlinear bend. So adding this bend deformer, make sure it isn't on absolute because it's kind of stupid when it's absolute. Do curvature, and we can now curve this around a gun or an object. Pretty cool. This allows you to do a little bit of tweaking. That's pretty much what I did. So if I want to open that up a little bit, make it fancy, I totally can. And it just allows you to be able to really customize a shape, and that's kind of what I did here. I made him one thick piece. We can even do the same thing here on this guy. I can add a curve on this guy, and again, this is just simply me doing the same thing. Do the nonlinear bend, and you can determine. Now remember, it's limited based on the shape. So if you don't have enough edges, it won't bend really well. It'll be very hard. You gotta make sure it's defined correctly. But look at that, you can get some nice cool bending deformers. Alright, so that's about it. I'm done. I will leave you alone. Peace out until next time.